Hey, we're back. It's Mr. Real Estate Morrison and Chris Urso. I got to come up with a name for him, like the Apartment King or the Apartment Coach, or I don't know, something. I'm a brand.
All right,
I got him.
I'm in.
I'm gonna brand them well. He's definitely has helped me take my business model and my search for an apartment building for myself and something that can help build my family legacy. He's helped me take that to the next level, and we want to help you take your quest for long-term wealth, a family legacy, an anchor property, and just an elevation in the real estate game. We want to help you do that as well. So what if I told you that you could own an apartment building, right? Your piece of an apartment building with no cash or credit. You would think that I was bluffing, that I was lying, this is a hoax, this is a scam, Jay is full of crap. But the reality is that you can own an apartment building or your piece of an apartment building with no cash or credit of your own. And there's ways to do this. So we're going to talk to you in this video. Literally, we will walk you through what you would need to do and where you would have to be at in order to have your own anchor property and have a piece of an anchor property with no cash or credit. So what you're going to need is the education, right?
First and foremost.
Right.
Knowledge is everything. So, you know, we all have kind of the fears or doubts when we see those big complexes. And if you would have ever told me 5 years ago that we'd have 1,300 units, you know, $70 million worth of property, I'd say you're crazy. You know, I came from a middle-class family, no big real estate experience. My dad worked for 40 years, you know, for the same company. And, you know, we were willing to kind of surround ourselves with people that played at a bigger level. I think that's the big difference. You know, you always want to be around people that are at the next level for whatever you want to achieve. If you want to flip 50 houses next year, be around the guys that are flipping 50 houses next year. You want to own an apartment building, you know, within the next 12 months, be around the people that are doing apartment deals. Right. And that's what we try to share with people. And the first and foremost, you got to get educated. You know, it's a business at the end of the day, and you just want to devour as much information as you possibly can about the strategy and be focused and be persistent at the same time. Right. You know, this is not about having to do 100 deals in a year when it comes to apartments.
It's the right deal.
Yeah, it's doing one good deal in any given 12 months can really change your future. Right.
So like in the Academy, in the, you know, Jay Morrison Academy, in our introduction to real estate investing, I always say you're only one deal away. Yeah. That's even on a small scale, right? One deal could be 30 grand, 50 grand, 100 grand deal, and you're on your feet. In the apartment industry, I mean, you're really only one deal away, and it could be a life changer.
Without a doubt. I mean, our first deal, I think that's the perfect example, right, is how we put that deal together. You know, we used very little, less than $10,000 of our own cash. So not fully no cash, but very little bit of our own cash. But we used our resources that we had at our disposal. All the guys that we did residential deals with, we went back to and said, guys, I want apartments. Don't show me another house. You know, I want to buy an apartment building. And this is my budget. I feel like I can put together a $500,000 deal. And they came to me with a 40-unit building, pretty much vacant in the hood in Cincinnati, and it was $260,000. Right. So we needed $260,000 to buy it, and then we needed about another $190,000 to renovate it. But I had the property management team in place. I had the construction team in place. I had the knowledge. I modeled what guys were doing at $50 million levels. Right. You know, I reached out as mentors, and they sent me all their information on how they structured their deals. And I basically just sat page by page and put together an overview on the deal based on like a $50 million deal for my little podunk, you know, 40-unit building. And I went out to everybody in my network, friends, family, cousins, uncles, you know, guys I used to work with, and said, this is what I'm doing. You know, do you want to invest in this deal? Right. And ultimately, it's a numbers game. You know, my coach told me this. He's like, Chris, you got to put the package out to 100 people. You got to call 100 people. You know, you're going to be scared as hell to do that. Right. But if you do it, you're going to get the money that you need. And sure as heck, you know, we ended up raising $450,000 from other people to do that deal. And if I didn't do that, there's no way I'd be sitting here today. Right. So let's backtrack a little bit. Yep. So we talk about the education component, right? So you had people willing to invest in you and your project, your idea, with less than $10,000 invested of your own. Yep. You know, nearly raised $500,000, right? 100%. So you think about this, guys, right? Chris was able to raise nearly $500,000 with less than $10,000 of his own in the deal. And, you know, ask yourself, I'm going to ask Chris, you know, why did they trust you? Why did people trust you
to be able to, to park their money with you and your idea, and you had no experience really at the apartment game, right?
Well, two things. I think you guys teach it as a big part of your academy is the professionalism and the branding. You gotta treat it as if it's a business, not as a hobby. I didn't go to even my parents. I didn't go to with a piece of paper on handwritten and say, you want to invest in this. We put together a 20-page overview, showed all the reasons why it makes sense. I leveraged my team.
Right.
So I didn't have the experience, but my property managers managed, several hundred units. So I anchored them and said, hey, you know what? These are the guys we're working with. They're on the ground there. Here's why the deal makes sense. I presented it in a very professional fashion. And then I also leveraged my past experience, even in my other job, managing people. It had nothing to do with real estate. It was, this is what I did. I successfully managed 100 people, 3 different shifts, 4 different locations, et cetera.
Right. What you did essentially is you packaged yourself.
Absolutely. Right? First and foremost, people are investing in people.
Right, exactly. So when we say, when you watch this title of the video, how do you buy an apartment building with no cash or credit, we're giving you the actual blueprint to how you do it. One is that, and we teach it in the academy, second lesson, is you brand and package yourself. We talk about integrity, right? If people, if you have been a slime ball and a scumbag your whole life, this video is probably not going to work for you because no one's going to trust you to invest anything with you. But if you have been, an upstanding person, you've been, a man of your word, you've been a good businessman, you've handed them a deck with your company letterhead, your logo, your address, your tagline, all these little things as someone that you've invested in yourself.
Absolutely.
You're a professional, and I probably can trust you with this investment, or I can at least dig deeper into it, right? So, as I said, with no cash or credit, you could own your own apartment building or a piece of one. Chris said he put less than $10,000 of his own into the deal. But I would imagine, right, if you didn't even have $10,000 to put into the deal, if you would have kept playing a numbers game with that same package, that same professionalism, I'm sure you could have pulled that deal off with even no money, having leveraged the other investors who already were investing in you.
Yeah, now, we do like $10, $12 million deals, and I may not put any cash into any given deal, more so just to accommodate my investors.
Right.
And they don't even care at this point because, we've proven ourselves. But 100% on that first deal, we could have just made a couple more phone calls. And I think you want to talk about like the structure of it. So how do you fit in if you don't put the money in?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we can get to that. Okay. And I want to further elaborate. So when we talk about being professional, taking it serious, right? So if you're going to walk into a room with your hat on backwards and your T-shirt on, saying, "Hey, I watched Jay's video. I want to be able to work magic and do a $10 million deal, $1 million deal, a $10,000 deal with no cash or credit," no one's going to take you serious. But if you follow our blueprint and we're going to get into the structure of how you actually can do it and where you get paid. But if you're able to, to package yourself, be professional, and you're educated, right? So
most important. They're
going to ask you tough questions about, well, what's the NOI on the apartment, and who's going to manage the apartment building, and what condition is it in, and what location is it in, and is it an A property, B property, C property? All these things you're going to need to know to pull this off. So I'm not telling you that you're just, you're going to go in there with limited knowledge, smack a piece of paper on everything, and walk away with the deal, right? So there's work that has to be put into yourself and your brand and also your brain in order for you to be able to own something with no cash or credit, but it's absolutely hands down doable.
100%. Right? I think you nailed it right there. So
Thank you.
That was good stuff. I hope you're paying attention.
Right. So tell me a little bit about the 4 ways that we get paid when we structure our deals on the business side.
Sure. So from a business perspective, which is what we do every day, you get paid for your work that you put in, and your investors know that. It's all transparent, like you said.
Sweat equity.
Yeah, it's all about integrity, transparency. A lot of new investors say, "Oh my God, how can I get paid a fee to put this together? My investors are going to say A, B, and C." That means you didn't position the deal the right way. Your job, if you don't have the cash, is to create so much value around yourself and the opportunity that an investor says, "I would never be able to do this without you."
Correct.
So I understand that you need to be compensated. So we get paid what's called an acquisition fee when we close a deal, and that's everybody smile. I always say that's to put the smile on your face.
Right.
That means you worked your butt off, you got to the closing table, and literally at closing, the title closer will cut our company a check.
Right.
And it varies anywhere. On that $450,000 deal, I think we made a $25,000 acquisition fee.
Right. And this is very similar to what we teach in our investors course, in the intro course, to wholesaling and getting an assignment fee.
Yes.
You did all the work, the due diligence on a single-family property. You got the contractor's estimates. You know if there were any liens on the property. You did your comps in the area. And because you put the sweat equity in the work on the property, and you contracted that property, you now can assign that property for a fee. It's the same practical concept at a much larger scale with much bigger money.
Yep. So we don't, in addition to that, we don't physically property manage. I mean, I can't hang a picture, let alone like fix a toilet or, you know, do drywall repairs. That's not my blood. So we asset manage, and that's something you want to write down. You want to be an investor and an asset manager. You don't want to be, you know, a landlord. You know, I hear the word landlord, and I feel like, you know, I'm thinking about Schneider.
Right.
You know, from back in the day, you know, a guy that's walking around with a hammer trying to collect rent. So we get paid an asset management fee every month. So if the building generates $20,000 of monthly income, we get a small percent. You know, it could be 1 to 2% of that gross income, because we're overseeing this every week. You know, you don't just want to close a deal with apartments.
Right.
You got to make sure anybody can go out and buy a deal, but it's how you effectively operate it after you close it that's going to dictate how successful you're going to be.
It's work. You got to hustle, right? We're not saying this is you know, a piece of cake. This is for those who really want to hustle, want to work, and are willing to work for their business, for themselves, and for their family.
Absolutely. So you get a small 1 to 2% asset management fee. So you got acquisition fee, asset management fee. Every month that gets paid to you. And then in addition to that, you get a percentage of the cash flow that's generated on an annual basis. You know, it could be, you know, monthly, quarterly, semi-annually, or annually. So if we pay our investors $50,000 of cash flow from that building this year, we're going to get a percentage of that. Sometimes it's 15%, sometimes it's 30%. It depends on the deal and your investors and the returns that the deal is going to generate. So that's going to vary. So you get acquisition fee, asset management, percentage of cash flow. Then on the back end, when you've done your job and you put your work in and you've created value, force that appreciation, which we already taught you guys about. You force that appreciation, you make a profit. Now the profits are a lot bigger on bigger deals.
Right.
You know, you're talking about hundreds of thousands of dollars or millions of dollars, depending on the size of the deal. You get a percentage of that profit as well.
Right.
So those are your 4 main components.
You see that? And that's with no cash or credit of your own, right? Potentially, however you want to structure your deal. But it can be done with no cash or credit. You can get paid 4 ways on a multi-unit apartment deal and not be the landlord, but be lord of your land.
Yeah.
So for those of you who started watching this and thought I was bluffing, I just proved it to you. Chris and I just proved it to you, how you actually can get your own piece of, and so we didn't really mention also, in your structuring your deal, right, you also can structure it in all negotiation where you actually get a piece of the equity of the property.
Yeah.
Right? So as opposed to you just getting paid the fees and you're making money on the deal, you also, again, can be a part owner, a minority owner, or whatever you want to work out on your deal, depending on your relationship with your investors. You can actually have your own equity stake in that actual physical property and do it big. Yeah. You could do it big starting from scratch, but it has to start with the education, the professionalism. It has to start with you building a right team around you. If you don't have the team, if it's just you're a lone ranger out there, you're not going to be able to get this done. It's high-level stuff.
Yeah, this is a team sport all the way, man.
Absolutely. I mean, which is why I have you.
Yeah.
So I hope you guys got real value out of this. This was not fluff. This was exactly what you need to do if you want to structure a deal, put a deal together where you can get paid 4 ways and own your piece of an apartment building or an anchor property without any cash or credit. All right. See you guys in the next video. More value on the way.